Like it or not, Zuko would have been forgettable without his uncle and mentor, Iroh. Same goes for Luke without Yoda. These mentors were written so well that years later, they're still more than just memes. They are basically unpaid therapists in real life. What makes them so unforgettable? To write a good mentor, start by asking yourself, is this even needed? Truth is, not every character needs a mentor, but every character following the hero's journey story structure meets a mentor at one point. A mentor figure lets us see a character in a new light. It tells us this person has potential, but they can't reach it alone. Characters who go through self-discovery and redemption usually have the longest, toughest arcs. Their shifting mindset and circumstances make every step of their journey feel earned. And in Avatar, no one embodies that better than Prince Zuko. Zuko starts as a self-loathing prince in exile, desperate for his father's approval after being banished by him. His turning point comes when Uncle Iroh starts asking the questions Zuko doesn't want to answer. That's when his hero's journey begins. Similarly, Star Wars made it really clear that Luke Skywalker could not continue his hero's journey without guidance from a superior.
I'm not looking for a friend, I'm looking for a Jedi Master.
Unlike Iroh's mentorship, Yoda helps Luke on a much more linear path, and this mentor figure marked Luke's entry into a new phase of his journey. As a rebel fighter, Luke had a lot of shortcomings, such as naivety and impulsiveness, exhibited by how he confronted Vader before he was ready in The Empire Strikes Back. This type of trope, where the character gains a new identity following training with a mentor, is also seen in Kung Fu Panda, where Po is chosen as the Dragon Warrior, but he doesn't even know Kung Fu. He was just a simple guy obsessed with the Furious Five. Then one day, he is chosen as the Dragon Warrior. 6 other characters stood a better chance of being the Dragon Warrior, but Po was chosen.
Warrior.
This is where Oogway had to step in as the mentor he desperately needed. See the pattern? When a character has a goal but starts off unskilled, unprepared, or far behind, the best way to make their journey believable is to give them a mentor. That's where the real challenge begins, because how do you make a mentor's guidance feel natural instead of forced or lazy? After all, the growth needs to come from within. If it comes from external sources, it wouldn't feel earned. It starts with earning their place in the story. The last thing you want is for them to feel like a plot device. It might seem like there's no clear formula, but there are some mentors who teach with compassion.
Yeah, but I'm not going to shoot lightning at you.
While some are hard on their mentees.
This isn't a request, Keith. Get to the FIM system. That's an order.
But beneath all the different teaching styles is one core principle. The mentor protects the mentee's independence. A good mentor doesn't steal the spotlight. They shape it, then shine it on someone else.
I support your decision to continue with your Marmora training.
There's a big difference between guiding someone and controlling them. A good mentor nudges, not drags. They know their mentee has to make their own choices. They cannot be opposed to free will. That's the line they never cross. When Po expressed his doubts about being the Dragon Warrior, Oogway didn't dismiss the panda's feelings. In that moment, if Po decided to actually throw in the towel, Oogway wouldn't have stopped him. He sensed Po wasn't himself, and he gave his young mentee room to express his grievances. What follows is one of the most memorable lines in the entire franchise. Simple, timeless wisdom. Po has mental blocks holding him back. Hyping him up as the Dragon Warrior wouldn't help because it would feel lazy and fall flat. He needs to believe in himself first. That's why Oogway doesn't just hand him confidence, he shifts Po's perspective. If he ended up being a failure, Oogway would be as well by extension. Yet he wasn't going to rush Po into something he wasn't ready for just to save face. Hence, he had to be patient. But nobody was as patient as Iroh. He had arguably the worst character to mentor in Zuko. That boy was just something else. fighting internal demons, the Avatar, his father, and his uncle. It's almost as if everything Iroh says falls on deaf ears, and everything he does is in vain. But after every misguided action that ends up blowing up in his face, Zuko begins to realize that maybe he should be listening to Uncle Iroh more often. Mentors know the real fight isn't theirs, it's their mentees, and the best way to win is to prepare that person, even when doing it for them would be easier. That's something we'll get to later. Nothing drags a story down faster than a spoiled character who whines and gets their way. If others keep doing their work for them, they'll never grow, and the audience will start to hate them. You don't want that. Mentors should allow mentees to maintain their autonomy while trying to give them clarity so they can make better judgments. Asking them questions they can answer themselves instead of answering it for them.
Instead of lightning, it keeps exploding in my face, like everything always does.
With a mentor quietly offering insight, the mentee starts making better choices, often without even realizing it. But here's the catch. If you do this too much, your mentor risks turning it into a plot device instead of a real character. That's why this next part is critical. If you miss it, you might as well go back to square one. Remember, these mentors aren't filler characters who just move the story forward. These are actual people with their own fears and desires. Heck, they even have their own arcs. They just happen to have goals that overlap with their mentees, even though the movies hardly show details about their lives. Hints are still dropped, and we still get reminders that these mentors are capable of emotions and possess flaws. When we meet Oogway, he was stoic and all, but he did have fears about Tai Lung's escape.
That is bad news.
It was his know-it-all dismissive behavior that created him in the first place. Kinda. Who knows what would have happened if Oogway just made Tai Lung the Dragon Warrior in the first place? It makes you wonder if the compassion he shows Po is a result of the regret he feels for dismissing Tai Lung the way he did. All that wisdom couldn't have come without a few mistakes. But do you know who else is old and green with self-righteous tendencies? Master Yoda.
Your arrogance blinds you, Master Yoda.
The Sith played the Jedi and had them exterminated while being right under their noses. Who was the highest Jedi Master when all this happened? Yoda. This sequence of events means one thing to this mentor-like character. It makes him fallible. It proves that he's capable of making mistakes. This doesn't make him a bad mentor figure, it just makes him human and relatable. It further gives us a good reason to believe why his conviction to train Luke was so strong. He was making sure the next generation wouldn't repeat his mistakes. Sometimes, though, you don't need subtle hints to show a mentor's humanity. Uncle Iroh is a great example. He's old, wise, and highly skilled, just like Oogway and Yoda. But when he's not offering deep wisdom, he's cracking jokes or enjoying a cup of tea. Nothing says personality better than being smooth with the ladies. Additionally, Iroh isn't as aggressive as the typical firebender. The fact that he's the only relative of Zuko who's compassionate towards him alone is evidence of this. But his softness didn't just spring out of nowhere. He's a pacifist, because he knows the cost of war, and we've seen him stand firmly on his belief. His attitude isn't an excuse for his role as Zuko's mentor, and even if it is, we're given a strong reason why this is so. He lost his son, and so underneath all that easygoing demeanor is a man grieving that his child is no more. Doing this, the show gave us a fully formed character with his own struggles and goals outside of mentoring. That's the key. Write your mentor like they exist outside their role. Give them an arc of their own, even if they never had a student. When you do that, see how you can give said character a path that intersects with their mentee and puts them in their mentor-mentee dynamic. That said, another thing these shows do consistently with their mentor figures is to keep them above our hero in terms of skill set. I mean, mentors teach mentees, not the other way around. These are characters that are past their prime, but that doesn't mean they are weak. Oogway is an old turtle, but he could still subdue an enraged Tai Lung. Uncle Iroh, in his old age, still couldn't be held by the four walls of a prison cell. He could even channel lightning. Remember, mentors don't take the spotlight. They help heroes on their journey, so establish that they have completed their own journey, and now help others on theirs. But not every character gets a good mentor. Sometimes the story takes a different route, like Jim Hawkins in Treasure Planet. He's a restless kid chasing adventure, and he ends up spending half the movie bonding with someone he was explicitly warned to avoid. That's where things get interesting.
Beware the cyborg!
It would have made more sense for him to be under the tutelage of Captain Amelia because John Silver doesn't suit the role despite his best efforts. Silver isn't someone who's okay with being in the background. He's in our face so much that it makes Jim look like a sidekick.
I hope I'm there, catching some of the light coming off you that day.
Therefore, if your mentor figure is going to take attention away from your hero instead of redirecting it to them, then you need to rethink who should fill that role. Even after avoiding the bad things and doing the right ones, you can still mess everything up. And here's how to tell if you are. Ask yourself, are you giving the character real depth so their role as a mentor feels natural? Or would you stop caring about them if they weren't a mentor? If it's the second one, you've got a problem. That means your so-called character is just a role in disguise, and the audience will see right through it. When that happens, their actions feel baseless and out of sync with their backstory or goals. But here's the good news. There's a simple fix. You don't need to overhaul the whole character. Just lock in this next key element. That key element is the mentor's identity. More than anything else, this is what holds the character together. You can't swap out a great mentor for someone similar and expect the same results. Their presence has to feel specific and earned. A strong mentor identity always has two things: the capability to guide, shaped by their unique personality, and a genuine desire to see their mentee grow. Let's take a look at Oogway. He's the master of Kung Fu masters, and essentially at the pinnacle of Kung Fu in his universe. The Furious Five are all masters, answerable to another master. But as great as they are, they just wouldn't be able to offer Po the wisdom that Oogway did. If your mentor isn't the best at what they do, they'll lack credibility. It's that simple. Oogway was exceptional, but more importantly, he was the only one who didn't resent Po. He truly believed Po was meant to become the Dragon Warrior. That said, while belief was the bond with Po and Oogway, with Iroh and Zuko, it was something else. Iroh was the only one who could guide Zuko. No one else had the patience, the wisdom, or the heart for it. Zuko is a banished prince with no real support system. He doesn't have many options for a mentor. Most of the world fears the Fire Nation, so finding help outside it is nearly impossible. And within his own people, he's seen as a failure, except by his uncle, the one person who still believes in. Not to mention, Uncle Iroh is the only person who can make him a more formidable fire. When you look at who Uncle Iroh is, his history, his wisdom, his bond with Zuko, it's clear no one else in the show could ever fill his role as the prince's voice of reason. Same with Luke. He was surrounded by people, but none of them could guide him. His arc ruled almost everyone out. Everyone except Master Yoda.
I'm not looking for a friend. I'm looking for a Jedi Master.
This brings us back to the first rule of writing a strong mentor. Make the character need one. Star Wars took it a step further by having Luke actively search for Yoda, showing how essential that guidance was. Thus, once you've chosen your mentor, make sure they're unique. the audience should immediately understand why no one else could take their place. Now that you've made our story and protagonist need a mentor, and you've shown why and how this relationship is important in progressing the hero's journey, you still have one more vital decision to make. Perhaps the most important decision about writing a good mentor. It's making them obsolete. That's right. The mentor's job is to get the hero moving through their journey, not to walk the whole path with them. Therefore, once the hero has reached that point of no return, or once they are fully transformed, the mentor fades out. Or at least he or she should. The best example of this is Master Oogway.
You must continue your journey without me.
As unhinged as this sounds, Oogway gave the mantle of Poe's mentor to Shifu. After getting Poe to believe in himself, he made sure Shifu hopped on the same boat.
There are no accidents. Come with me.
This sounds like lazy writing, but it somehow works, and here's why. The biggest thing stopping Poe from being the Dragon Warrior was doubt. Doubt from himself, doubt from Shifu, and doubt from the Furious Five. The biggest thing that was stopping Shifu from training Poe was control. He was convinced everything was just an accident, and Poe shouldn't be the Dragon Warrior. The moment he lets go of thinking he can control who becomes the Dragon Warrior is the moment he actually starts creating the Dragon Warrior. Shifu trained Poe's body. Oogway reshaped his mindset. That contrast is the heart of Poe's growth. If Oogway had stayed to train him, that balance would have been lost. Unfortunately, sometimes having multiple masters doesn't serve thematic purposes, and mentors don't need a symbolic farewell. Sometimes all they need is a little bump of K and a 2001 Honda Civic. Okay, we're not getting into that meme. At the end of the day, well-written mentors are not plot devices, but real characters. And when their role is woven into the heart of the story, they become something more. They become thematic anchors, grounding the entire narrative. But if you thought writing a mentor was fun, imagine how interesting it is to turn a hero into a villain. You can check that out in this video here.